All right, today I want to talk about why right now, this very moment, is the absolute best time for you to get into the party rental business. Now, the party rental business kind of encompasses a lot of things. It could be tents and tables and chairs and bounce houses and party supplies and, just a ton of different things. You can also specialize if you are like a mechanical bull and that's all that you do, or a dunk tank or something like that. But the point is that these things are kind of woven intricately into every aspect of our lives. Every single holiday is surrounded by these kind of things. Every single, personal event or achievement, whether it be a graduation or a wedding or a marriage, even some other events that are tragic, like funerals and things like that, may require these kind of items to be utilized by people who normally don't have them, stored away in their garage. You literally don't have 100 chairs in your garage. Most people don't have a commercial grade inflatable, and they don't have, all the other things that are involved. And it is kind of entails a lot of work to have these things and to get them into place and get them done. So for the most part, people kind of shy away from including them into their personal use, or if they do it, they will go with a kind of a lighter scale or something that doesn't hold up to the wear and tear that may be, really prominent in these kind of events that we're talking about. There is no aspect of today's life that is, kind of amiss of this or away from this. And no one kind of shies away and says, no, we're not going to use that, or we don't have that, or we don't want that, or something like that, because it literally spans everything. Every person, every genre, every community, everything has something that they need for you to get into it. And what we're talking about today is that why is to now the best time. It may seem kind of strange to you because you're thinking, well, the economy is going crazy and there's tariffs and there's, all this stuff going on and people are unsure and people are being laid off and blah, 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 blah. Tons of stuff going on. But a lot of that sits at a point where it is in your advantage to take this opportunity and kind of move forward before it gets into something that is a little different. First and foremost, let's talk about inventory. There is a ton of inventory out there. There is used inventory. There is new inventory. There are people who manufacture and sell and things like that have inventory in stock. This may change, so now would be a good time to take advantage of this. This may change because the tariffs are taking effect and that the close off has occurred with manufacturers that are bringing things in. For the first time in probably 20 years, we are seeing manufacturers that are not moving out into future shipments that are coming in. Normally what a manufacturer would have, and they will have the stuff that they have in their inventory, and then every 3 to 6 months they have a certain amount of inventory that's coming in. The inventory that's coming in is sitting at zero right now. Now, a lot of them are waiting short term just to kind of see what's going on and to see if they can kind of wait it out and make their way through it without taking too much. We all know that there's going to be an increase. We all know that there's going to be some disruption because remember, it doesn't turn on and off like a light switch. This is going to be a 3-month situation. So every day that it is not being produced and put into the channel is putting us a day behind that we can get it. The stuff that we're looking at now is probably late fall, and it's not going to happen. So it will be at least spring before we're looking at more stuff coming in, because a lot of the manufacturers are not going to bring stuff in the off season and risk it sitting around in a warehouse and not make any money, just like many of the party rental people. So that being said, You need to take advantage of the fact that there are tons and tons and tons of inventory right now. All the manufacturers filled their warehouses with all the equipment that they could. There are lots of people that are replacing stuff and moving stuff through. And what happens is that the old inventory is left and they can rent it. Much of it is in really good shape. You need to be careful and make sure that you're not buying stuff that's not in good shape. You need to be careful and make sure that you're buying stuff that is from, reputable companies. Even if it is a used piece of equipment, you can look and find where there are some good manufacturers out there that are stamped and labeled the units so that you know that it's coming from quality. Also, you probably need to learn how to maintain and repair, do some minor stuff, and do the things that you need to do, and also the things you need to look for to make sure that the pieces that you're getting are not going to be stuff that's giving you more problem than profit. And all that taken into consideration, now is a really good time to get in because you have all that available to you and you can jump on that really, really quick. All right, moving forward with what's going on in the economy today and what's going on in the economy, especially in the United States and around the world, what we are seeing is that prices are actually coming down. The prices of fuel, the prices of, interest rates, all this stuff is starting to be whittled away and the prices are starting to come down. The most important part of all of this is the disposable income, which is the income that is usually affected first whenever the prices start coming down. What happens is that people will use that disposable income to kind of fill the gaps when they have price increases. So if the price of gas goes up $1 a gallon or something like that, the way that the consumer takes care of that is they take whatever little disposable income they have and they supplement the money that they have to allocate towards that, and that's where it goes. What happens on the flip side of that is the disposable income is taken away from other things like entertainment, like parties and things like that. So once disposable income starts going up, and we're seeing it now because the prices are coming down on fuel and on food and on all the other stuff that's out there, disposable incomes comes up, and we are going to be hit with a rush of people who are looking to spend that money to have a good time. Entertainment is a very, very important part of a person's livelihood. Now, we've seen what happened during COVID, where people were cooped up and they were locked up and they couldn't socialize and they couldn't be a part of things and they couldn't go to school and they couldn't go to work and the whole 9 yards. And what happened is depression was on the rise and all these problems started to bubble up. Entertainment is what creates an opportunity for us to burn some of that steam off, to socialize, to interact with other people, to learn how to, get along with other people, and, also be supportive of each other and have those other things. So entertainment is hugely important. And when we have the opportunity to have that entertainment because we have more disposable income, then we take advantage of that and we move full force ahead. Now, the good thing is that some people may not have the kind of money that they need to buy an inflatable, but they will have enough money to rent an inflatable. So again, that falls right in line with us and where we're at and what we need to be doing. The party rental business from 2024 to 2025 expanded in over $2 billion alone, just in our industry. And it's expected to expand over 50% by 2035. So we're talking about a huge amount of growth, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. Many of the reasons are that people are finding novel ways to create events and do events and have events and include the things that we have into their kind of their wheelhouse of what's going on. We're doing, marathons and races, and we're doing gender reveal parties, and we're doing, graduations and marriages and divorces and just any kind of reason to have a celebration, we're having those celebrations. Also, employers are finding that, doing more than just handing somebody a paycheck is going to be an absolute must. You have to have this. And we're not talking about replacing money with a pizza party. We're talking about going all out, creating an opportunity where your employees get to know each other, get to know their bosses, get to know their workplaces, get to know the families and the whole 9 yards, and it becomes a more inclusive and a more surrounding environment that includes the families and everybody that's involved in it. So the growth in our industry is definitely there. The opportunity is definitely there. If you get into the business now, what you'll be doing is building the foundation so that you can grab your piece of the pie in all those events, and also be part of the innovation that creates these events and makes it possible for everyone to kind of enjoy your equipment and be a part of what's going on. Along with that comes a growth in the trends that have social gatherings. Cities are doing a lot of stuff to where they're bringing people together. They're having concerts, small concerts. They're having, festivals. They're having events. Churches are having huge amount of festivals. Schools are bringing, these kind of things back and incorporating opening the doors and welcoming people in and doing this. And this is replacing the ginormous events that we see where you have hundreds of thousands of people, and it's going down to tens of thousands of people. Well, the opportunity there is for us that we get to serve our local community, and we get to serve them in a way that we provide equipment and things like that, whether it be tents or tables or chairs or inflatables or anything and everything, foam machines for foam parties, or the mechanical bulls, the dunking booths, just tons of things out there that you can do that fit perfectly into these smaller events. So the trends are moving away from mega events where there's a lot of danger of people being subjected to crime, both there and parking and the whole 9 yards, to smaller events where you're in a local community, the people around you, and that danger is lessened a whole lot. So we're perfect for this, and it is perfect for you to get into it right now, because what will happen is that, again, you've got to take advantage of these opportunities and grab these events up while they're out there and being offered. There's also a growing trend in the consumer, and that is that they want something that is sustainable. And what does sustainable mean? That the days of the throwaway of equipment is gone. The days of the cheap stuff that you buy for one party and it falls apart or rips apart are gone. What they want is quality equipment, and they want stuff that they can say that they added to the environment. Our industry is sustainability defined. We literally are reusing the same products. We're making sure that we're getting out there. We're using the same tables, the same chairs, the same inflatables, and all the other stuff that's out there. Even the tent and tables with the linens that are used on tables and chairs that are, again, re-rented, so that we are continuing to use things that are sustainable and not getting into a thing where we're filling these landfills full of junk stuff, the cheap nylon inflatables, or the chairs that fall apart, or whatever, paper, tablecloths or plastic tablecloths, the stuff that literally is the opposite of what's going on. This next generation is 100% on board with being sustainable, and part of being sustainable is what our industry does, in that we make sure that we're getting the fun out there, but we're using the same equipment so that we are not filling up those landfills. There is also the ability for you to tap into niches and markets that have not been tapped in before. If you're in a rural town, it is very, very, very opportune for you to get into this business and be that provider for that town, where they've had people coming in from distances, or they just haven't been exposed to things at all. On the flip side of that, if you are in the industry and you are overwhelmed by competition, this industry is so flexible. It allows you to open up in a different location or to focus your rentals in a certain location and then travel to that, do several rentals, saving on gas by doing the rentals while you're there, picking them up and bringing them back. So you don't have to do this in a large town anymore, and you don't have to do it in your town anymore. You can literally travel. You can find an area that is underutilized, that is underrepresented by the industry, and you can attach yourself to that and become that area's provider for all the equipment that we're talking about. And again, you can find other things that people don't have and keep providing that equipment, even though there may be someone who is literally in the same industry right down here. I have said this 1,000 times, and I really just need to get it across there. You guys, there's 1.4 million people within 50 miles of me. They don't make enough inflatables to do that many parties. They don't. So there's no such thing as being, totally overwhelmed. You just need to pick and choose your battles and move into those areas, and also in the equipment that is being underutilized, so that you can kind of grab that thing or that part of the pie that literally is not being used. Another reason why is now the best time to get into it is because it's still kind of cheap to get into the industry. Now, it is not as cheap as it used to be, but it is relatively inexpensive to get into it. You can start small, you can do as little or as much business as you want to do, and you can move forward. There are things that you need to be careful of. You need to make sure that you don't get overwhelmed. You need to make sure that you don't, overstretch or stretch yourself thin to where you don't have the equipment or the manpower to do whatever you're doing. But in the same respect, you can do 3 or 4 rentals in a weekend and make this a part-time gig. Okay, it's still got a very, very relatively small startup cost to get into it. One thing that I want to caution people, especially now in this kind of day and age, is that going hard into debt to try to create something, it can be very, very difficult. It would be good to get some pieces now, but some of the worst things that you can do is get into a situation where you are continuing to have to make those payments, whether or not you're making the rentals that you need to do. So what I advise you to do is try to build yourself into the industry. So for instance, if you took 3 inflatables and you were able to rent 3 inflatables on every weekend, the way that you price your units and mark your units, you should be able to, in 3 weeks, generate enough revenue to replace one of the rentals. Now, that's kind of preposterous because you're not going to take every single dime from a rental and you're going to dump it right back into another unit. So if you doubled that and just say that half of that, so every 6 rentals, so every month and a half, you were putting those units out there, getting the rental fees, turning and taking half of that money and buying another piece. Now you will have 4 pieces. And if you can rent those 4 pieces and create that snowball effect where you're doing this over and over, there's some things that you need to be careful of. Be careful what you choose, because you want to pick things that you're going to rent, not necessarily things that you like, because your goal here is to generate as much revenue as possible. So renting the units as quick as you can, getting that money going, and then after you've built and got a good established amount of equipment, then you can start filling in the gaps with things that may not be quite as popular or things that were niche. So very, very popular things first, and rent and reinvest and build your inventory as quick as you can and get to the point to where you're generating the revenue that you need to generate. Also remember, there's a lifespan on the things. Generally 3 to 5 years is where you're looking at. If you're buying used equipment, then you may already be pretty close to that. So you got to be careful of that as well. And it really depends on the equipment. Water pieces usually deteriorate a lot quicker, and pieces that are out in the sun usually deteriorate a lot quicker, and things like that. Things that have stress points, those or something where a kid is hitting it constantly, whether it be a pop-up or a wall or something like that, may have some issues with it as well. So keep all of that in mind, and keep building your inventory with the ability for you to try to create this opportunity for you to do it without debt. And again, I know that debt is sometimes necessary, but you need to try to stay away from debt. Another thing is if you're going to do debt, stay away from the hard debt, the credit cards and things like that, because paying 27% interest on an inflatable is not doing you any favors. You're not saving any money. And in fact, what you're doing is you're working for a credit card company. You're not working for your own company. So be very, very careful when you do that, okay? Another reason why now is the absolute best time to get into the party rental business is because there are so many other businesses that are looking for someone to partner with in order to make their business more enjoyable, and at the same time stay away from the things that are going to incur a lot of labor or a lot of cost and stuff like that. And we're perfect for that particular kind of line of work. One that kind of pops into mind is that local Chick-fil-A's usually do a family night, and it is very, very easy to partner up with them and create an opportunity so that you can bring inflatables out so people can come to the Chick-fil-A and enjoy the inflatables while they're having a meal. Many of the restaurants have moved away from their own play areas, and they have opened up this opportunity for you. Also, tents and tables and chairs for big events. A lot of the companies are doing, appreciation day and picnics, company picnics and company appreciation, gatherings and things like that. Also, I've done some sales meetings where, a distributor for a plumbing company was bringing in all their customers and kind of having a big giveaway and a big family day, and they were having meals, and they were having the inflatables for the kids, and they had all the vendors came in and kind of added to it, so it turned into like a mini convention and served hundreds of people. And again, getting back to that smaller scale so that we can be part of something that's much, much bigger, and at the same time make a good little profit that's on top of it without a lot of the troubles of coming in and coming out. So look for those businesses to partner with. Look for those things that you can kind of be a part of in the community and add to it. Churches are another one that is a very, very big event. They're going to surround all of the holidays. Your inflatables can create a lot of the atmosphere through theming, through colors, through just the size and scale of everything that's out there. So, look to that and also sell that as part of what's going on with you and the inflatable business. Right now, more than ever, the government is looking to put some cash into your pocket. And these are the kind of loans that you probably need to look at. They're a little bit more difficult, and they come with a lot more strings attached. It's not something where you can just kind of, and walk away from it like a credit card or something like that. It could be attached to you. It could be attached to you, whatever properties that you have put down for, some sort of collateral or loan, lien, or something like that. So be very, very careful. But at the same time, it is a very, very lucrative opportunity to work with the Small Business Administration, get you a large loan that will encompass everything that you need to do and put it all into one, and then start drawing that back out. Again, I want to caution you about getting deep into debt for something that you literally can grow much, much easier. So be very, very careful when you're looking at these programs. But at the same time, I think right now it is going to be humongous, the amount of opportunities that the government is going to kind of shovel in, because they want people to be self-sustaining in America, and they want things to happen in America. So they're going to support the American business, and it'll be a really, really good opportunity for you to get into this business and put your best foot forward and make that money with the help of some very low interest loans that are going to be available widespread. Look for it and check it. Again, do all your research. Don't get into something that's going to cause you problems, or it's going to, create more of a strain or a stress on you. But also take advantage of those if you can. There are more, and we kind of touched on this before, there are more parties out there than you can shake a stick at, and they're doing all kind of different kind of parties that we never saw, coming up, that are a lot different. There's a lot of cultural integration. There's a lot of, community orientation and integration. Also, times of years and religions and everything. Everything is kind of becoming a big giant melting pot, as it was designed to do. And it gives you the opportunity to kind of fit these pieces into all those things. So right now, again, huge opportunity for you to take advantage of all that and be a part of the community and to see some of these cultural differences and some of these community differences that will allow you to get in there and create these opportunities for your business and grow very, very quickly, simply by being the one that's there. So right now is the time, because these things are exploding everywhere and you want to be a part of that. There are some things that I want to touch on, and again, these are kind of the other side of the coin, so I don't want to harp on this or kind of get in a situation where I'm scaring you off from this. But I do want you to be very, very wary of jumping into a situation where you're going to be the little fish in the big pond, and you don't have the ability to compete with others because you don't have the support or the things that they have developed over time. When you're going into a market that is overrepresented in our area, take for instance, if you were going into a market and you're providing tents and tables and chairs. If you start this business with 100 chairs and one 20 by 20 tent, and you're going into a market that has several large tent companies, you're going to be in trouble, because they can beat you on availability, they can beat you on price, they can beat you on scale, they can beat you on, labor, they can beat you all the way around. Be very, very careful that you're not going into something where you're going to create this situation where you're at this disadvantage. If you're going to go into something like that, go into it with the mindset that you're going to provide something that is different. So do something in a different color, do something in a different scale, do something in a different thing. Market your things towards things that are not being thought of before, okay? Going into this with the idea that you're going to do weddings and competing against these giant wedding companies is just suicide. So don't even begin. You can get into those later on once you've built and scaled, but take some time, go on the internet and look up some of the things that are going on in your area. If you have 100 chairs and you're trying to do graduations that require 500 chairs or 200 chairs, or a wedding that requires 200 chairs or something like that, what are you going to do? You're not in that ability to do that. So you need to either pivot and move towards a different kind of event, or you need to get in a situation where you are scaled down to do private or more intimate, church events. Use the powers and the advantages that you have. Your stuff is going to be newer. Your stuff is going to be cleaner. You're going to have much more attention to detail. You're going to do the things, and you can beat them on price. You can if you're doing a lot of the work that yourself and you're doing a lot of the things that you want to do. It can help. Many of the rental companies will just kind of drop your chairs and set them. If you offer the ability to actually stage and to put your equipment out there, it's going to take you a lot more time, but the customer will appreciate that, and they will be more mindful towards you and leaning in that direction. Again, going into this business now, we all got in the back of our minds that, oh my gosh, the economy is going to kind of turn and this is going to be crazy. What do I do during the winter if I put all these eggs in one basket and I don't have, anything to rent during the winter? How am I going to make it through? Oh, these are all viable concerns. And my suggestion is to you, don't grow into something that you're not ready to. Don't put on the shoes if they're too big. Don't wear the pants if you can't buckle them up. Get in a situation where you can use this business to augment whatever income that you have on the side, or whatever way that you're supporting yourself, or whatever way that you're, creating opportunities for yourself, and grow it until you get to the point to where you can fill in those gaps, make the kind of money that you need to make, and move forward. Don't worry about the economy so much, because we are one of those industries where we can also be a price saver. We can provide that cheaper opportunity for people. People are going to entertain themselves. They're going to entertain their kids. They're going to have birthday parties and the whole nine yards. You just have to be in a situation where you can offer a low price alternative to someone going to, one of the party rental places or to Disney World or something like that, and creating an opportunity for people to do things. One of the other kind of constraints that are coming down our line, it's going to get more expensive. Now is the time to get in because it's not expensive. A year from now, I don't know. It may be twice as expensive to get into this business. So right now is the time to get into it, because you need to be able to build your foundation and create this opportunity for you to start generating money, so that if the prices do go up on the equipment, if we do find that some of the manufacturers are going to have to retool here in America, and there's a gap, and there's a time constraint, and a lot of the big players are going to spend a lot more money, and they're going to drive the prices up through inflation, and supply and demand is going to get all out of whack. And then on top of that, labor costs are going to cause the American manufacturers to charge more. It's going to get dicey. It's going to be crazy. Now is the time to get your hands on some inflatables and hold on to those, and make sure that you have the ability to kind of take care of them and repair them as you need to go. One of the other things that I've kind of looked at is that the DIY party, the person who's buying their own stuff, the church that buys an inflatable and uses it for their own events. We've had this problem for years, and we've had companies that came out. Sam's comes out with water slides and the whole nine yards, but the cheaper stuff. We have kind of muscled our way in and found a way to coexist. And in most instances, what you're going to find is that a church will have a bounce house that they use for whatever small events they do. That doesn't mean that they won't call you for large events and order 4 or 5 more to fill out the inventory that they have. So don't let this worry you so much, but in the same respect, don't get in a situation where you're chasing after things that literally are not going to lead to something. If you're going at a church and they own their own inflatable, don't try to rent them a bounce house or something like that, because they've already got one, and they're not going to try to, to get into the same market. Go for the stuff that they don't have, the big water slides, the bigger units, the things that will circumvent the little things that they've got their hands on. That's the way that you move forward. So keep moving that way. One of the other biggest challenges that you're going to run into is labor. Now, this may actually correct itself, because what's going to happen is we're going to have a lot of automation, which means people are going to be looking for jobs. Also, the industry may automate in some form and fashion, to where we will have driverless delivery vehicles that can take it to the customer, and you just got to have a couple guys that get out and unroll it and stuff like that. So it takes away the need for a driver or something like that. But as we stand right now, it is a kind of a hard market to get in there and find somebody for a decent price, and make sure that they're insured and they're doing all the taxes, and that's another aspect of your business. So when you're growing, you need to make sure that you keep that in mind, and you don't get in a situation where you're growing to fight yourself on something like that. When you are the delivery crew and you're making $100,000 a year, it's going to cost you $60,000 to bring on another crew. So you're not going to ever double in size. You'll probably go 1.4, 1.5% on your growth by adding another crew, but that 60% is going to be eaten up. So again, it's very important to keep that in mind, because what happens is that you come to this expectation of this money that you're going to get, and it never gets there. Not to mention the fact that if you're going from 120 or 100 to 120, you've got to eat the cost of that employee, and it may actually eat into some of the cost of your money on this side. So you may go from 100,000 in profit down to 80,000 in profit because you had to pay that employee. So it would have been better off just to stay in a smaller realm or doing those kind of things. When you grow, you have to grow quickly, and you have to grow efficiently, and you have to grow to where your money is making sense to put people in the position. So keep that in mind. And also, it's always going to be a problem until we get to the point to where it's. The last thing is all the other stuff. Insurance, licenses, and things like that. Those are a lot of hoops that you're going to have to jump through that you need to make sure that you do, because the last thing you want to do is get shut down. You know, this is the right time. A lot of governments are going to want to see you in business, but at the same respect, you have to do it the right way. If not, what's going to happen is that you're going to be penalized for not doing it the right way, not having your license, not having the insurance, and the whole 9 yards. So make sure you do all those things, research it first, and then jump through all the hoops. Hey, I hope this helps you. You guys, right now is the absolute best time to get into the business. So make sure that you do everything that you can do your research, and jump in and join the crowd. If you need any help, you know how to get in touch with me. There's tons of videos, and also, you know, anything that you can do, I can do to help you guys, let me know. Other than that, keep watching, and we'll bring them back to you.